Dad?
Yes, son?
Are you just waiting by my door?
Well, sometimes dads wait outside their son's doors. You know, just in case.
How long have you been out there?
Oh, you know, between 2 and 3, maybe?
2 and 3 what?
I love you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Explaining Warhammer to My Girlfriend. I am your host, Ava, and joining me, as always, is my lovely significant other, Kari.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Where are we?
Today, we are back with humans. Last we left off, Emps was starting to make some pseudo-clones of himself. Kids, clones.
The Primarchs?
The Primarchs. And Erda, trying to save her children, did a bad thing. She launched them into space.
Because she had a bad day. She lost all her sons.
The horrible realization.
She threw them into space because she thought that was better.
Before we get started, we have exciting news. We have new merch. We have worked with Kari's sister Jenny to bring you the Bones of Chaos.
Poopy.
We have a design for each of the 4 ruinous powers with the bones of blood, change, rot, and excess. And might I say, they look absolutely beautiful. And not only that, they are comfy, coming in black and white for hoodies and t-shirts alike for all sizes. These things are so freaking cool.
They don't even look like merch. They're just rad.
Yeah, they're just like art designs on a shirt that you can wear.
There's so many little details.
Absolutely.
Everywhere. Jenny did such a good job.
She did an amazing job.
We'll link her Instagram. She's incredible.
If you want to pick up any of these shirts, please head on over to orchidate.com/numbskulls. Link in the description. Pick them up while they last because they are flying off of the store.
Aw, we love them. Everybody seems to love them. Our friends love them. Our family loves them.
Lastly, if you like what we do and want to support us and support the show, head on over to patreon.com/numbskulls where you can get access to all sorts of cool rewards like behind the scenes stuff, bloopers, a private Discord, and much more. That's all over at patreon.com/numbskulls. Check it out in the description.
They've known about the shirts for like a couple weeks.
It's true. You get previews on merch.
They had secret access.
It's true.
They bought them all up.
It's true. It was Last thing, use code numbskulls at Gamersubs for a discount.
It helped us get through editing this episode.
It's true.
Oh, we love energy.
My love, what do you know about Horus?
Horus, the Egyptian god.
Nope.
Okay.
Warhammer Horus.
Oh, there's a heresy, right?
There is a heresy. That's true. Good job.
Right.
Now,
Dad's mad.
Dad was mad. Now, this is long before that heresy.
Oh, okay.
So
last time we saw Horus, he was flying through space.
Horus?
Listen.
Horus.
Dyslexia is all up in my brain.
So, last we left off, Erda, with fear in her heart of what the Emperor will do during his great crusade, sought to delay him or outright cancel it by throwing her children into the vacuum of space to who knows where.
No.
It's not an ideal situation, but
it invoked for me the image from Prince of Egypt, where the mother
Moses' mother
places the child into the river because it's
a better alternative.
Otherwise, he will die.
Yeah.
But if she does this, maybe there's like a 3% chance, and then it goes about as well as it could.
Right.
It's an image that you do see reflected throughout stories sometimes of this.
It is an act of hope and desperation.
Yeah, it is obviously not ideal, and it is,
No.
and it shows the strength, I think, often of the woman and the self-sacrifice to basically try to give them an out.
Yes.
It's like an escape pod when you know the ship is about to blow.
We got a lot of comments talking about how I don't like Erda, which is fine, whatever. I'm not here to change your opinion or anything, but I am here to sort of give people broad strokes. And what I find so interesting about Erda in that decision is that she is one of the Emperor's oldest and closest allies. They were ostensibly a couple for hundreds, possibly thousands of years. And she was seeing what he had become.
Yeah.
And she had made these Primarchs with him, and they were their children, essentially. And to her, throwing them into the unknowable vacuum of space to potentially just instantly die, for all she knew, was a better alternative than leaving them with him, which I love I love me a tragedy. I love me a tragedy. I love drama. Yum, 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 yum. Just, I love that. It's so dramatic because it paints Emps in such a really interesting light where when you hear all of his honeyed words just coming out going like, I will unite humanity and together we'll get rid of all the ignorance of old night and all will be unified again. And when you hear that pitch, you're like, yeah, that does seem really good. I like that. Wow. And then you start to get the details of what that actually means.
Mm-hmm.
And some people start to have questions.
Yes.
And then Emps goes, well, no, you shouldn't question me because I know I'm right.
Yeah.
And that's horrifying. And I love it. It's one of the reasons why as much as I give him shit, I think the Emperor is like a genuinely fascinating character.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I love it.
Whether or not somebody is a good or bad person, I don't necessarily think that takes away from them.
I think Griffith is a fascinating character. I hate him with every fiber of my being.
Yeah, I can like as a character a bad character. My favorite Star Wars character is Anakin.
Yeah. Oh.
And I'm talking like during the Clone Wars.
Speaking of tragedy, yum.
And that's why, because it's a fascinating character arc.
It's a fall from grace. It's literally the fall from grace.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting seeing it from a perspective of what is essentially a god walking around. And it's not necessarily a fall of grace. It's more of like a realization of like what they actually are talking about.
Mm.
It's like this god is talking about like salvation and like saving people, but behind them is a pile of millions of bodies. A devil's bargain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, you guys can have your whole career go fine and not get caught for this murder.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
But then when you die, your children go with you.
Yeah.
It feels like if you have that doubt in your heart, if this does go wrong, what can I do?
You have to be 100% in.
Yes.
And if you're even doubting it, you're out.
Yeah. I mean, there are people who can like disillusion themselves and kind of like, if they have a wandering thought, they can kind of get themselves back to like going along with something that they don't necessarily agree with. My mind is actually kind of going to, when you look at family structures that are influenced by a parent who's a narcissist.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So in that situation, usually one of the children will become a scapegoat. You'll often have the golden child and the scapegoat. So the golden child is held to these crazy expectations, but is treated better than the scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
So, you end up with a situation of some kind of emotional abuse. And then any other person who actually witnesses the abuse, what do? What does the golden child do?
Yeah, what are you supposed to do?
And the term that a lot of people have used, and I've seen this come up as I've studied this kind of thing, is a flying monkey is often what it's called. And basically what that means is that you're a flying monkey on the wall. Like in The Wicked Witch, she had all her flying monkeys.
Right.
And even though she was doing evil things, they did anything.
Yeah.
They just went along with it.
Yeah, just go along with it.
And that's kind of the thing. It is a way of self-preservation because, of course, if they were to stand against the abuser, they're likely to be abused.
It's a defense.
There will be consequences, and there might be more consequences for the scapegoat. So they might even feel that in doing this, they are actually protecting the child.
Mm-hmm.
Ergo, erda. But to stand up to something like that,
a god.
Well, your family.
Yeah, so your family, like
somebody who you truly have a relationship with, and you've spent time with them. Your relationship is going to be influenced by what you do.
I fully headcanon. This is all headcanon, but like I think it's pretty well implied. I think Erda launched the Primarchs into space fully knowing that she was going to die. She was like, he's gonna come kill me. And that's why the fact that it doesn't happen is so shocking.
Yeah, because she doesn't go off and try to do something else with her life.
No, she goes into exile.
Yeah,
she's like in the middle of nowhere.
Which is essentially a self-imposed death for an immortal.
Yeah.
That's like as close as you can get without.
She's not exactly alone, but that's another thing that we'll touch upon later. But like,
but she is not like, I'm sure she had hobbies.
Maybe.
She is not going out and like doing things.
No, she's become a hermit.
Yeah, she doesn't want
a witch in the middle of nowhere.
She feels that the universe is better off without her.
Yes, she feels that she has done a bad thing, and to repent for it, she has put herself into exile. Because even if she thought what she did was the right thing, it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
She possibly damned all of her children, all 20 of them, to death. And how do you live with yourself?
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to go back to because I think in situations in our world,
in our reality,
you often see single mothers demonized as if leaving their partner or being left is some kind of purposeful abuse of the child.
Yeah.
But I've been somewhat shocked by some of the reactions, honestly, that I've seen concerning Erda. It's always interesting when somebody has a different perspective than you. So like I initially went down kind of the thought process that you did based on like the text you read and stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, if somebody came at it and like maybe read a different piece of text or something, I could see them coming to a different conclusion and I could see them being mad at a character.
Sure.
But also some of the words that people chose were very misogynistic.
Yeah. And that wasn't great to read.
And that to me shows that there is an element not just of disliking her for something she has done. There is an element of disliking her because she is a woman.
I think also there's a third thing. I think it's also a lack of perspective because like I come from a family, my parents were divorced. And there was a moment where I was researching for the Emperor episode and I did not know about Erda. I am not like super caught up on all the Horus Heresy books because I'm not going to buy 65 novels and read all of them because some of them are kind of stinky and I don't want to. I eventually want to read enough of them.
Also, Alex has read them all and he is like helping us catch up.
Yeah. I check with Alex. I check with John, go from there. John didn't know about Erda.
Yeah. I was surprised Alex did.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised.
Just because from what I understand, it's such a small bit. Alex is crazy. Like he can read something and he will remember it. Like
he's so hot.
I know.
So like coming from a divorced household, it really brings perspective into like when Erda launched her kids out. I don't agree with what she did, but like I completely understand where she's coming from. I completely get it. And I feel like it just comes from, it's definitely the two things that you mentioned and also the third thing of just perspective of just like, I totally get not liking her because of what she did. I don't get it from not liking her because she's a woman. That's really, frankly, loser behavior. But I also understand it from a different perspective issue. I completely get it.
And I could also see why there would be anger in there.
Oh, absolutely.
I can absolutely see how that would kind of trigger somebody to read about a character like that.
I saw people saying things like, if Erda had not done that, then the events of what would eventually become the Heresy would not have happened. And I disagree with that. I think the Heresy would have happened even faster. I think what they mean to say is that things would have been better, which I don't necessarily agree with.
I guess we don't really know, like, we don't have Emp's notebook of like, plan for the universe.
He's got a crayon. He's got a little notebook.
Yeah, he's got a schedule. He's got a little calendar page and like a mood tracker.
For all we know, his plan was, I am going to unite the galaxy under the rule of humanity. I'm going to rise us up back to greatness by unifying the galaxy once again.
Right.
By any means necessary.
Make the galaxy great again.
Make the galaxy great again. Yes.
Yes. What does that mean? When was it great?
Technically never.
Okay.
The whole thing of the pitch of things like this time period of Warhammer, the age of technology or whatever.
Yeah.
Like when you get the broad strokes, like, wow, that sounds great. Or like Emperor talking about like his grand plan. When you get into the details of all of it, you start to realize like, that's awful, actually. We'll touch upon that a little bit more during this very episode. I think this is a great prelude to lead directly into what is considered the Primarch Golden Child.
Oh.
Mr. Horus.
Monsieur Riz. Monsieur Riz.
Horus Lupercal.
Lupercal. That's fun to say. So he's the wolf daddy.
No.
Oh.
He's not the space wolves.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I saw the wolf.
We'll talk a bit more about his legion in a bit.
Okay.
There's sort of two things that I want to talk about because Horus's origin has changed. So the first origins of Horus was we knew like where he came from, what the planet was like. But other than that, it's like we don't know what about it because it's a secret.
Oh, okay. So when we first meet adult Horus, is he an adult? We meet him as an adult?
Primarchs age weirdly.
Okay, so when we meet him, it's not because he just crash landed. We've moved ahead in the story.
You kind of meet Horus in the original sense. Horus was just kind of a dude, and the heresy and all that kind of happened in the background. It wasn't like a big deal. But then they were like, what if we made it a big deal? They being Games Workshop.
But they put his name on it.
It's because he did the thing. So originally the Emperor was like, here are my Primarchs, and this is Horus, and this is Leman Russ, and this is Rogel Dorn, and this is Sanguinius, Fulgrim, blah, 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 right?
And then Ito was like, you're not allowed to name any more of them.
And just like, I hate the names you chose for me. He's like, I didn't choose them.
I got them from this generator app. It's on like Harry Potter names.
Scrolling all day, and he's like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this.
Moon.
There is a Space Marine generator app.
I know. That's where he got it.
It's great. Oh. Horus for a long time didn't really have a origin story, so to speak. Like, we didn't know like what his early life was like, or like exactly the details of like his upbringing or anything. Until we got a anthology series called Blood of the Emperor, which is a great book, by the way. There's a short story. It's the first short story in it called Lupus Demonis, written by Graham McNeil.
The wolf demon?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And it gives a bit more insight into...
We watched that episode of Doctor Who.
It gives a bit more insight into Horus's upbringing. So let me regale you a tale, my love.
I'm ready for story time. Guys, we gotta shimmy on in here. I got some gamer subs. Oh, this is perfect.
Yo. So our story begins on the planet of Chthoniya.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, Chthoniya is a planet that its surface is not great.
Okay.
Apparently there was a bunch of wars, unlivable surface. Now, luckily, the interior of Chthoniya is actually quite hollow. So there's a lot of tunnels that like go through the planet. And that's where all the people live.
Mole people.
Yeah, pretty much mole people. But they don't look like moles. They're like normal. We begin our story with a person named Nergui.
Oh.
Which is a title for no name. You are like less than dirt.
Oh.
Nergui. Now, Nergui is a small, scrawny guy.
Okay.
And he lives in a gang.
Oh.
Now, Chthoniya has a lot of gangs about it. They're all about the drugs and the murder and all the other bad stuff. More than anything, Nergui has a dream.
Oh.
And he wants his very own name. Because in this society, you only get a name after you've killed someone. And Nergui's never had that chance. He's too scrawny, he's too weak, and they never let him come on to the pillages or anything like that. Because, you're too weak, Nergui.
Oh, man!
You're too weak.
Right.
And he's also kind of scared of things.
Okay.
But more than that, sometimes he goes over to the edge of the caves and he can actually see the sky. And he has these vivid visions and dreams of far-off worlds that he feels like that he knows about. If only he could grasp it and actually realize that. This origin story gave me like heavy Berserk vibes with Guts and Gambino. Where a gang comes across a baby. Now, this gang is really superstitious, so they come across one day this pod, right?
Yeah.
And it's going like beep, 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 beep. And they're like, what is that? And they're like moving in. They see a baby. And they're like, oh, there's a baby. Oh, we're going to be eating good tonight.
Oh, no.
We're going to be eating good tonight.
Oh, my God.
Listen, you got to do what you got to do to survive out here in Chthoniya. It's rough out here, man.
These are humans.
These are humans. Humans.
Okay, yeah.
So they're all like, let's eat him. Let's eat him. And then the chief comes by and picks up this baby.
Right.
And he looks into his eyes. No.
Chomp.
This isn't I have no mouth and I must scream. No.
It's no, because it's the bite of 86 or whatever.
So he's looking at this baby and he sees that this kid has bright, vivid blue eyes, which is not a thing that any of these gang members have seen before.
Right.
Now, immediately, they're into the new is bad mentality. So they're like, oh, that's evil. That's a bad omen. And for some reason, this chieftain goes, stop. And he takes the baby in. And for the next couple years, he raises Nergui almost as like, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a gang to raise a Nergui.
Yeah.
And so Nergui grows up, and more than anything, he wants a kill name. He wants to be like the other warriors of the tribe, but it's just so hard. And one day after he's like getting made fun of, it's like, oh, Nergui, you don't have a kill name. Oh, you suck. We have so much sex with women.
Look at this guy. Jim over there. He got Jim.
Jim's got his kill name.
Jim murdered that guy. Ripped his heart out.
Ate it.
Now he's Jim.
Used
to be not Jim.
Now he's Jim.
Who is not a Necron, by the way. No, that's Jim.
Not a Necron. Totally not. What is that? What's a Necron?
I don't know. Let's go back in the planet hole.
So Nergui one night decides, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go get my kill name.
Oh.
So he grabs a knife.
Heck yeah.
And he scurries throughout the tunnels. And eventually he finds like people sort of, half dead or kind of dead or maybe pretending to be dead so that they can get like a quick heal.
Right.
And he's just crawling through and he's like avoiding people as he can. And eventually he sees something he's never seen before. He sees a figure surrounding a strange object, looks sort of like a pod. Nergui feels like he understands what it is, but he doesn't really have a word for it. And this figure is wearing a red cloak.
Oh my God.
And more figures show up.
It's a cult.
And they have red cloaks and they have weapons that Nergui has never seen before. And they have bright blue eyes.
Oh, it's the mechanic.
And seem to have mechanical parts all over their body.
You know, as above, so below when all those people are singing.
Not quite that, but sort of that.
That was terrifying.
So.
Okay, so the Mechanicus are in the planet.
Yeah, he sees the Mechanicus. He doesn't know what they are, but he's like, oh, that's perfect. If I bring back like proof that I've killed one of these guys, they'll have to give me a kill name.
Okay.
And so eventually he waits. And one of the Mechanicus is eventually alone. Like, it's a Skitarii, right? So it's like a soldier. Pretty good soldiers, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they're kidding.
And Nergui jumps him and he assassinates him.
Oh,
and immediately, all of this oil is like spluttered all over him. And he's like, oh. And he thinks it's blood, but it's not blood. And he's like, it has a weird smell. Immediately, the other Mechanicus notice. And their blue eyes turn to him. And he can hear very vividly over a mechanical, sort of staticky voice,
I've located the boy.
I thought you were going to say, he got Jim!
He got Jim!
So, immediately, a chase ensues.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And Nergui's running around, and he's trying to get back to his family.
Oh, that's like my nightmare.
And after all of this chasing and stuff, he eventually escapes.
Okay.
And he's hiding. And he very carefully goes back to his gang family. And he goes up to the chief. And the chief is like, where have you been, Nergui? And he's like, I've gotten my kill name. And he's completely covered in like oil and stuff, right?
Okay.
And he walks over and he's like, see, I did it. And he shows him the knife. The knife is coated in oil. And the chief takes the knife and he sees the oil as it's gleaming in like the firelight. And he looks up at Nergui and he goes, what have you done? Immediately, bang. Bang, 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 bang. The Mechanicus followed Nergui.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, all of his gang family, bah, there goes Jim. Bah, there goes Frank. Oh my goodness. Everyone's going down. Bang, bang, bang. Nergui's so small and he's skittering around. And eventually his leader, the chieftain, the guy who took him in, bah, and he crumples to the floor. And Nergui goes over to what is essentially his father. And he's cradling him. He's cradling him in his hands. And the chieftain, he reaches a hand up to cusp Nergui's face.
Oh my God!
And he leans him close and he whispers to him his kill name.
Oh! And then Why by Ayaka starts playing.
And in that moment, Nergui's eyes shoot open and he can see so many things. He sees the planet that he's on, the tunnels, the surface, and it zooms out and he can see the stars and he can see so many other worlds and so many other places. But then it goes and it zooms in on this blue planet and it zooms in past the atmosphere, past the clouds, past the mountains to a golden palace. And inside the golden palace is a golden throne. And on that golden throne is a golden man who is in deep, deep thought. And that man smiles and he simply says,
it is time.
In that instant, Nergui launches his head back and he starts to change. Muscles begin to grow and his bones change and his mind is full of so many different things, worlds and words that he's never heard before that he now understands. He can see things, the Emperor, the Great Crusade Terra. He feels it and he's growing and growing. He grows like 11 feet tall.
Okay.
And then the Mechanicus come up to him.
Yeah.
And they're like pointing their guns and they go,
what are you? Who are you?
And he turns around and he says, I am Horus. And that's the origin of Horus LUPERCAL. From then on, Emps probably showed up, was like,
what's up, me boy? It's me, your dad.
And brought him on, showed him like everything, gave him a legion of Space Marines and was like,
don't you want to go on a great crusade?
He's like, wow, Dad, that does sound great. That sounds like a great, great crusade.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Yeah, hit me. What you got?
Does this happen to all of them?
No.
Okay.
This is a weird situation. I have never heard a Primarch story where suddenly they shot up 11 feet tall and they have like a bunch of muscles. Usually they grow normally.
He awakens.
Yeah, he like awakened. There was like something locked inside of him. I guess that vision of the Emperor, it like unlocked it and suddenly he became like Primarchified.
Something about I don't know that it was the name, but it maybe was like gaining a sense of identity.
Yeah, it was like, you have a purpose now.
Or this sense of like, there's that kind of like threshold of becoming a man.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very whatever.
Very gendered thing.
Very heteronormative, but that, I mean, it's a storytelling element. Like, to ascend into something that you have been working towards.
Yep.
And thus to change. Like, there have been times when, like, something like that, it kind of psychologically changes you. It's why when you go through therapy, it's more that you have little breakthroughs than it's all one, like, constant.
It's not one gigantic reveal.
Like, heal fest. It's like, we talk. Oh, I get it. We talk.
Little tiny things that build up.
What about this? You are making realizations.
Right.
So, like, sure, realizing something, I understand the story element, basically, but that's fascinating to me that is not something that applies to the other Primarchs. Because as you were saying it, I was assuming maybe the Emps, like, has a chip in there, basically.
No.
That, like, once they somehow pass that threshold, it, like, activates and calls him.
I remember asking Alex and then asking John, like, hey, what the fuck is up with Horus growing, like, 11 feet tall? And they were like, what? And I told them about the story, and they were like, yeah, I don't know. That doesn't happen to the other ones.
Yeah.
So, like, the other ones, it's more similar to what I was talking about, where it's like they reach, like, teenage years. Like, Gilliman reaches, like, 13, right? But he's, like, 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
They're just kind of big.
Right.
And, like, they're talented warriors or, like, extremely smart. Like, they're superhumans.
Right.
They're demigods. And it's very much that sort of Disney's Hercules, like, he lifts up the temple and everything. And it's just like, wow, he's just freakishly strong. What a great movie.
So when he's skinny and little and stuff, he's still like Primarchy.
No, from what I
he literally remember, like almost has like a human body until this transformation.
He was like a golem creature running around.
Oh no. Something was going on.
He was a little golem creature, just like...
It's almost like he was taking some kind of, like, suppressant, which obviously he wasn't. But something about his psyche, maybe, was repressing.
There was something about the name and then the vision of the Emperor, and he was like,
it's time.
Well, because the name, like, gave him the vision. That's why I'm using it as more of a catalyst, just because it led to the thing that was the catalyst. But
it was the identification of, this is who I am.
Yes. Quick question.
Oh, yeah, hit me, babe.
Does he ever use, like, magic or anything?
Horus?
Yeah. Or is he, like, completely a physical fight kind of guy?
He's more of a physical fighter. I'm sure if he wanted to, he might be able to, but that's not really his style. He's not really a mage.
Would you say he could use, like, are the Primarchs psychers, technically?
Yes.
Okay.
But the talent of which varies depending on the Primarch. Like, you've heard Magnus. Magnus is the best magic Primarch, period.
Would it...
Like, he's a fucking grand wizard.
Would you say that, like, a Primarch is magic, potentially?
I would say they have magical aspects about them. Yes.
Okay. I feel like Horus technically fits into the definition of a magical girl.
I just had the flash, the rainbow over his body. He's getting the big, like, beefy muscles.
Well, because there has to be a transformation. This is why it came to mind.
There has to be a transformation.
That's one of the criteria.
Emps was busy watching Sailor Moon, and he was upset because, like, it was just over.
He saw Usagi awaken, and he was like, oh, I'm doing that.
Bitch.
Oh, that's a good idea.
This has to happen. He was like, this is a great hero. This is a great hero to humanity. I must recreate this. So let's talk about a bit. There's a popular fan theory.
Sure.
And this was also a fan theory back in like the original. Ooh, it's a mystery. Chthonia is relatively close to Terra.
Okay.
So people have noted that all of the events that happen seem very coincidental. Like, oh, the Mechanicus were there. And oh, the planet, like, we don't know too much about it. And there's all these gangs and stuff. So there was a bit of a theory that it was all bullshit. And it was all staged.
Right.
I don't know if there's any, like, actual merit to that theory. It's a cool theory to think about.
There are two ways you would have to take that. You would have to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
You would basically have to pick who staged it.
Emps.
Okay. Which would make sense a little. Like,
that would make sense.
So to say staged it, I guess, is the part that makes it more or less understandable. Because we know that Emps didn't shoot the kids out into space.
No.
We assume he did not also then pick the coordinates. So the staging, I don't think, would have included maybe the planet. I could see him sending the Mechanicus to follow the pod.
Right.
Sure.
The shooting into space was sort of more warpy. So like it was kind of like a portal was opened up and yeeted into the warp and then back out of the warp. So
yeah,
that's why some of them are kind of warpy. They're kind of warpy.
They're a little warpy.
They're a little warpy.
Me, when I'm drunk, she just gets a little warpy. Things start floating around the room.
It's just a little warpy. So the theory is it has a bit of merit.
It's not unbelievable.
It's not unbelievable. And it's really interesting when you think about it that way because like, well, why would he not just immediately go get to him? Why would he not go get him?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably there was like some sort of test. Maybe Horus had like some sort of defect where like maybe they knew exactly like, oh, it landed on Chthonia and they saw like this baby growing up and they were like, let's go get him. And then they realized like, he hasn't like grown. Or maybe there was just a weird thing with Horus specifically that like he needed to sort of like awaken first. I don't know. It's interesting to think about and we're in heavy theory territory now. So like I'm not really sure what it could have been.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
In terms of like when this content came out into the public zeitgeist, when this happened, was he the first out of the Primarchs to like have his story told? No.
In fact, he was like one of the most recent.
Because I can understand sometimes something happening in a story being like exceptional and weird amongst other stories if it's like the first one because it's like, okay, you're like finding.
Well, it also makes sense because Horus is exceptional.
Yeah, there is something about him.
There is something exceptional about Horus.
Oh my God, he's just like the sandwich shop. There's something about him.
There's something about him.
There's something about him sandwiches.
So once he had awakened, Emps came by, brought him back to Terra, told him all about the Great Crusade and everything. And they had some time to talk and get to know each other.
Yeah, father-son time. That's important.
First Primarch, first son found. He has arguably the strongest relationship to the Emperor.
Makes sense.
They are, I would say, the most father-son dynamic. He is, as we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, the golden child.
Right. And here is where we're going to put in the clip of the Emperor going, ironic.
Ironic. So Dad, Emps does play favorites.
Okay. Yes. Almost like in a narcissistic family unit where there's a golden child. He literally has golden children.
He does. It's true.
That's fucking funny.
And now they're women.
Yeah!
Woo!
I could be one of his golden children.
So after they found him and they were like, here's your legion. Here's all your Space Marine boys. They're yours now. You can lead, right? Hey, thankfully, Horus is a really good leader. So when he got to Terra, he was given the 16th Legion, the Luna Wolves. And they are now Horus's guys.
The Moon Wolves?
Yeah, they were named that because they had a really great victory on the moon.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Now, is this at all related to Space Wolves?
No.
Okay. This is why I keep getting confused.
No, it's ridiculous. There's so many naming schemes that are very similar. Hey, there's Blood Angels, there's Dark Angels. Fucking catch up.
I will not. That's not a choice. That's just me letting you know where we're gonna be.
So one quirky thing that happens is that all the legions, all the Space Marine legions came from Terra originally, because where the hell else are they gonna come from?
Right.
But once the Primarchs are found, the Primarchs get a choice of like, well, where do you want your guys to come from? Where do you want your sons to come from? Because now we're using your gene seed.
Where do you want your harem palace?
Where do you want your guys to come from? And typically they choose the planet that they grew up on. So
home.
Horus picked Chthonia, which caused a bit of contention between the Space Marines from Terra and the Space Marines from Chthonia, because the Space Marines from Terra are usually normal guys, and the ones from Chthonia are like addicted to crack.
Oh,
and so,
wait, why? What? Because what?
Oh, Chthonia is like crazy crime, drug-ridden hellhole.
Oh, I thought it was like in Dune, how like the spice is just in the air. I was like,
no.
There's just crack
no.
in the fucking oxygen, and they're all like, ah.
No. So there's a bit of a weird, complicated relationship between the Legion, because there's like sort of this, well, technically we're the first Luna Wolves, and then the other guys are like, yeah, but we're the Luna Wolves now, but we come from where our Primarch comes from, so we're better. And there's sort of like this little...
There's a rivalry.
They still work together, but there's a bit of a crossing of worlds.
Why isn't he making sure that his other sons also get maybe not addicted to crack? like I would think...
It's hard, man.
You would provide them with, I don't know, a big boarding school or something. I don't know.
This goes into how a Space Marine is made, which we don't have the time for today.
Maybe I'm thinking too much like a human being.
Yeah. So to talk a little bit about the relationship with Dad in terms of playing favorites, one time Horus got shot in the middle of a battle.
Oh, fuck. Ouch.
And the Emperor stood over him and like tanked the rest of it.
Oh.
Because
I can't lose my baby boy.
Right.
You're too valuable, my son, my baby boy, my little guy.
Okay. And he's never done something like that for any of the others.
he does not typically do things as that.
He is not self-sacrificial.
He is not quite that self-sacrificial. No.
Yes, I suppose he is in the sense of the chair, at least to what we understand.
At one point during some books, Malcador or someone will be like, Ems, how do you feel about your sons?
Right.
And he goes,
Don't call them that.
Right.
They are not my sons.
Right.
They are tools of war.
Okay.
for some of them, he doesn't refer to them as their names.
Right.
He's like,
Oh yeah, number 13's a bit angsty.
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
However, it seems that's very different when it comes to Horus.
Right.
Even in books where he will say that, he will go to Horus and be like,
Hey, what's up, son? What's up? How you doing?
Horus seems to be the closest thing to a real son that he has in his mind.
yes.
That makes sense.
If not a son, a friend, a true friend.
Like a brother.
Like a brother
But
or,
like also like an underling brother. Like,
You know.
your little bro.
yeah,
Your guy.
yeah.
He's a little guy.
Now, I need to say this. Most Primarchs do see Emps as dad. They call him father, they call him dad, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
So that causes a bit of a sour patch of,
In the sibling sense.
dad doesn't like me.
Right.
But why does he like you?
Yeah. Oh, of course.
And so that sort of starts like this little sibling rivalry that can happen. But let's talk a bit more about his legion, the Luna Wolves. They are basically an all-rounder Space Marine Legion. They are pretty much, they're not like particularly talented in one area or another. They're just pretty good all around. If you give them a job, they can do it.
Right.
Like they're fine.
Okay.
They pretty much have this mentality of like, we gotta be the best.
That there ever was.
We're the sons of the first Primarch found. We got
like
it.
no Marines ever was.
I mentioned before that their name comes from a victory on the moon in which
Our moon?
our moon, Luna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Luna Wolves.
Well, technically a moon is just a celestial body that consistently orbits a planet.
Right, but our moon's name is Luna.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah. In Latin, the moon is called Luna.
How do I know what Mars is made out of, but I don't know the name of the moon?
During this victory, they weren't called that. They were just called like the 16th Legion. And as this enemy was being defeated, there was like this radio transmission directly to Emps, just like begging him. They're like, call off your wolves, call off your wolves. And so they became the Luna Wolves.
Now, were they just calling them wolves because
they fought like dogs. They were ferocious.
Or was it because they were all going, oh!
That's more of a Space Wolf thing, but I see where you make the comparison.
Oh, no, actually?
Oh, no, actually.
Oh, no,
babe.
they're cringe.
Oh, babe. No, they're cool.
No,
they're cool.
I know. I'm making a joke.
So the Luna Wolves were pretty good. Horus fought with them. They had the white color scheme with the black trim and stuff. Pretty cool color scheme, all things considered.
Yeah.
And like a lot of art of Horus is him in his Luna Wolves armor.
Right.
White armor. He's got the eyes of Horus all over his armor. He's got the symbols of the wolf. He's got a wolf like pelt over his like shoulders.
Love the claw. That's cool. That's a little Necron-y.
So let's talk about how they became the sons of Horus.
Sure.
This is,
Yeah,
we're kind of
okay.
jumping a bit because I'm not going to go over like every single battle that these Space Marines did and every single thing that Horus did. I'm going to talk about some stuff that's like interesting.
Things that are relevant.
What I find is interesting is how the legions might change as time goes forward. So the sons of Horus came about when Dad was like,
Hey, son, I trust you. You can lead your own legion. You don't need my help anymore.
and Horus was like, gee, Dad, thanks. And so he goes off and he's leading his legion. He does a pretty good job. Horus is a pretty talented leader. Now, during a fight with some orcs, he beat them so bad, so overwhelmingly victorious were the Luna Wolves that they are the reason why the Goth clan of orcs have a black and white checkerboard pattern across their armor.
Okay. They've truly influenced the lore. They've been here the whole time.
They've been here the whole time, you see.
That's bad writing, though.
The Goth clan got beat so badly that they have just adopted that color scheme because they're like, those guys were really strong. So if we color ourselves like that, we'll be really strong.
Those are the strongest guys, so we should be more like those
Exactly.
guys. Do what they're doing.
So after this battle, after this resounding victory, the Emperor went to Horus and said,
You know what, Horus? Your legion is no longer the Luna Wolves. They will be called the Sons of Horus.
and they changed their colors. So as like a big mark of like, wow, you did such a good job. It's like, no longer will you just be associated as Horus, leader of the Luna Wolves. You will have Horus and your sons, the sons of Horus. They will wear it as a badge of honor and pride because our Primarch is so cool. And they changed their color to like a dark teal.
Yeah.
Tealish, like a dark
It's a pretty
greenish
color.
blue. It's a very pretty color. I love the color scheme of it.
It's kind of similar to the color that I like some of the Necron paint jobs.
Yeah. So their logo changed. Their Luna Wolves logo was a black and white wolf with like a crescent moon behind it.
And then he's got the eye of Nidhogg. Both of them, actually.
And so their logo, once they had changed to the Sons of Horus, became the Eye of Horus.
Oh!
So their logo became the eye that Horus has all over his armor. So Horus also changed his colors to the dark tealish.
Oh, okay.
And one cool thing that you can find is that during the Heresy, just kind of jumping around a bit, when he gets the black armor with all the chaosy stuff on it, one of his pauldrons is white and the other one is a dark teal.
Oh, so to like represent both.
Yeah, to represent both.
Cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm into that.
Now, at first, Horus really didn't want this name change. He was like, that feels really egotistical. I don't want to call my legion the Sons of Horus. And eventually he came around to it after one of his brothers, his fellow Primarchs, Sanguinius, talked him into it. He was like, no, man, you should wear it as like a badge of honor. It's a pride thing. And Horus was like, you know what, Sanguinius, you're right. As far as Horus, his personality when it comes to him and his brothers, it was kind of like...
a little bitch?
Don't worry about that. It's fine.
It's also just funny because John would never say that.
So Horus's relationship with his sons was like relatively chill. It was like, yeah, Horus is a great leader. We follow him. We like him.
Right. Nothing like super toxic could happen.
Right. No, like everybody, including the other Primarchs, everyone pretty much had the same opinion of Horus. Of like, he's very capable, he's reliable, and he's a good guy that you could talk to.
Right.
Everyone liked Horus.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily love him. That would be more of a Sanguinius thing.
They respected him.
They really respected him.
Yeah.
And they knew that if they told him something, he could keep a secret or he could like be there for you.
Yeah.
He would help out. He was just a good guy.
Yeah. He was a positive influence in their lives.
He's a very positive influence. Now, however, this became a little more complicated when the other Primarchs started noticing, Dad's giving you a lot of fucking attention, huh? That kind of sucks. Why is Dad giving you so much attention? I want attention from Dad.
The scapegoat often becomes resentful of
the Golden Child.
The Golden Child and or the Flying Monkeys.
This becomes even more so when at the beginning of what you could call the Horus Heresy, and we'll talk about this more when we get into the Horus Heresy. That's going to be a doozy. This relationship between Horus and his brothers becomes a little more strained when the Emperor has to go back to Earth for some reason. There's like a big thing that he needs to work on. He's like,
I have to go.
And all of his kids are like, why? And he's like,
I can't tell you.
Okay.
They're like, okay. And he looks over at Horus and he goes,
by the way, you're the War Master. You're in charge of everything.
Okay.
And some of the Primarchs feel really fucking bothered by that. Because they're like, yeah, Horus is like a good guy and I like him, but like, frankly, I think I'm a better fucking tactician than he is.
I see.
And so that kind of strained the relationship a little bit, and we'll go very much into that when it comes to the Horus Heresy. There's a lot of conversations between Primarchs going like, man, it should have been me.
It's like Cersei Lannister.
A little bit. It's just, it should have been me. Why wasn't it me?
And the only reason it wasn't me is because of the way that we were born or the timing that we were born or...
You like Horus more, and despite me having a better ability to lead or a better ability to actually continue on at the rate that we're going, you're giving it to him because you have a bias.
Yeah, it's just blatant favoritism.
It's blatant favoritism.
Yeah.
Dad plays favorites.
Yes.
Like aggressively.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
So let's talk about some things about his legion in terms of like the quirks, how it works. Horus has a council. He has like a small council called the Mournival or Mournival. Yeah, it's a stupid
That
name.
sounds like a party you go to. It sounds like a funeral, like a party you go to mourn.
The Mournival, dude.
Oh, I missed that guy. Where? Jim. Oh shit. Wish that hadn't happened.
The Mournival is a group of 4 advisors that help Horus with managing the legion. But not only that, they are like top tier warriors. They are the best of the best. Power scaling goes like Horus, the Mournival, everyone else, right?
Yeah.
They're good dudes. You have Abaddon.
Oh, okay.
Who was angry, short-tempered, violent.
Oh.
John has added a note to the script that says a little bitch as well.
Okay, Abaddon is an appropriate name, then that works.
Yeah. He has a top knot I wonder if he'll be evil in.
I have this theory,
Yeah.
and I feel like it almost seems obvious, so I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a thing. But you know how with the orcs, like whatever they believe, like kind of like it influences the world around them?
Right.
I feel like in the way that these guys are all named, they're a little bit psychic, right? So they identify with their name in a way. And I feel like there's almost like a prophetic nature to the namings for that reason. Like they become what they're called.
That's an interesting theory. I've never actually thought of it that way.
Because their names all fit so well into what they are and what their story is, but they were named before that happened. Like if you met a guy and his nickname was Angron, you'd be like, okay, I'm not going near that guy. But if you met a guy and his name is just Angron on his driver's license, like you're not really going to think, oh, he's probably mean, because you know that he got that when he was a baby. Unless he changed it because he really liked his nickname, in which case, get the fuck out of there.
So we have Abaddon, angry boy.
Yeah.
We have Loken.
Okay.
Who's chill, the voice of reason, and very dutiful.
Cool.
He's like what you could consider like a noble guy. Very chivalrous.
Right.
We have Torgadon.
Twerking on? Hang on a second.
Torgadon. He is the comedic relief of the council.
Yes, he is.
Jokes around a lot.
Uh-huh.
He once talked down a captain of another Space Marine Legion that was like really prideful.
Right.
And the entire time he's roasting the shit out of him.
And wiggling that mean.
It's true.
You know, shaking that dump truck.
My Primarch, I'm trying to sneak through enemy lines, but the clap of my ass cheeks is so loud that I can't sneak. They're noticing me, my Primarch.
And finally, on the small council, in the Mournival, we have Little Horus Aximand.
Okay, hang on. Little Horus Axeman?
Aximand.
Aximand.
Aximon. Or however you say it.
Metreus Aximon! Like,
so all these Space Marines, when they are created, they get like gene seed, right?
Okay.
Fellas, is it gay to retrieve gene seed from your homie?
Yes.
I think not. No.
That's what being gay is. I'm not saying it's a negative.
But despite that, the gene seed just kind of allows them to adopt some of the traits of their Primarch. But like when two Space Marines, let's say two Sons of Horus, take off their helmet,
yeah,
they're still going to look like individual people. It's not clones. It's more of just like, you get the juice to kind of be like as good or like have some of the traits as your Primarch, et cetera, et cetera. These Sons of Horus, these Space Marines, they'll kind of like, you know, share similar traits. But for the most part, they look like their own individual people.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell two apart.
In the way that you can tell siblings apart. Like, there are similarities. Or are they like, it really just gives people like the appearance of if I went outside and looked around at a group of people, like totally different.
It depends. Like some of them are more extreme than others. For example, Salamander's gene seed will make your skin obsidian and your eyes bright red.
Yeah.
If you were like, say, Caucasian and you got obsidian skin, you would still have like Caucasian features with red eyes, but just with obsidian skin. There's a guy in Pariah Nexus, which is one of the Warhammer shows, who is a salamander, and he has the obsidian skin and the red eyes, but he has like very distinctly Asian features. And like it's
interesting.
Again, you can tell them all apart, but it's like they have similar traits.
If my theory is correct with how gene seed kind of functions, as that gene seed got passed along, it would differ more and more. It's almost like All for One.
Oh, the My Heroes. Yeah. I don't know.
A little bit. Like,
I feel like I don't remember much about that.
Just in the sense that it was
give
like
you an answer.
It snowballed. Or like the Avatar state. Each time it goes through another Avatar, it takes from the Avatar it just left and take like, so you get more and more out of it with a job stone.
That also does fit in with like we have to retrieve the gene seed. So like
the gene seed is a job stone.
Yeah, it's like a job stone from FF14. Little Horus Aximand. Now, here's a fun thing. His name was already Horus. He underwent all the surgeries and everything. He became a Space Marine. And weirdly, he looks weirdly like Horus. Like Primarch Horus. Like really similar. Like they could have been clones.
Not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Ray looks a lot like that lady who used to work here.
Weird.
Like a lot like her.
Weird. It's weird, man. Now, also, this didn't help that Aximand was like really into following orders. Like he'll do anything.
Right.
Like jump, I say how high, that kind of deal. Like a dog, essentially. So sort of mockingly, sort of affectionately, they called him Little Horus.
Okay.
Little Horus.
It's a baby Horus. It's a boo 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 boo.
To go into a bit of the dynamic between the Mournival and Horus as like leaders and like as advisors, let's talk about some notable battles that I found interesting.
Yeah.
And there's
Reign
like a
of
whole
Spiders.
list that's later. Don't worry.
If you put it in all caps, my eye goes to it.
Reign of Spiders. Let's talk about the Battle of
Keelik.
which was a situation where an alien species had a philosophy to only fight in specific arenas.
I thought you were going to say in Spanish.
So they were like, we will fight you, Imperium of Man, if you fight us in these arenas. And Horus was like, what do we do? And the Mournival had this big discussion. Loken was like, let's go and fight them. Like, we're better soldiers. We can totally do it.
Okay.
And then, I don't know who it was exactly. It was probably fucking Abaddon. It's probably like, let's fucking bomb him from space!
Okay, my kind of guy, though.
Abaddon's your kind of guy?
Well, Abaddon is how I approach Tears of the Kingdom.
So they told this alien species, yeah, we'll fight you.
Oh.
And they all went to the arenas.
Okay, this I like less.
Fucking bomb them.
The entire time, Loken, the voice of reason, or like Ser Jorah of the group, was like, I fucking hate this. This is so dishonorable. Why did we not we would have won. And they're like, yeah, this is easier though. Now we have the planet. So bam, we did it.
Okay, so they needed to take over this planet. And it was already inhabited.
Yep, there was an alien species there.
There was no way to cohabitate.
Not for the Imperium.
The Imperium does not desire cohabitation.
No.
They want the planet for themsies.
Yeah, it's ours.
Okay, right.
This will be really funny in just a moment.
Right.
Let's talk about the War on Murder.
What?
There's a planet called Murder. So they found this planet and there were a bunch of like these weird beacons outside the atmosphere of the planet. And they were like, what the fuck is this shit? What is
like
this?
Light?
Yeah, just like little systems, like satellite things. And they were just like blinking.
Okay.
And they were like having this code that we couldn't, fucking get that out of the way. And so they got on the planet and there were giant fucking spiders. Giant space marine eating spiders.
No! My whole body just got gross.
Giant horrible space marine spiders.
Can we leave right now? Space marine spiders. So fucking spiders can be space marines and I can't?
No, they eat the space marine. They go, yum, 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 yum,
okay.
Space marine for dinner.
It was a bad time. Go get dad. It's bad.
We're gonna have space marine for dinner.
Go get dad. It's bad. Now, eventually, they were like, what the fuck are we doing? We're losing against the giant spiders.
Big spiders. Guys, there's big spiders.
So Horus is in his chair on his ship.
What a horrible
It's just like,
thing
what the fuck are we gonna do? And his council is like, we don't know, man. Like, maybe we just abandon the planet. Maybe we just like blow it up. And then suddenly this ship comes in. They're like, who the fuck is that? That's not one of ours. And it starts blinking, this signal that they can't decipher. They're like, what the fuck? What is that? And then they heard a voice as if it was resonating inside of them that went, what did you do? This was the first contact with the Interrex, a sub-race of human beings that evolved to have bat-like ears, very scientifically advanced.
Zonai?
Kind of like Zonai. Let's think of Zonai.
Holy shit! What if the voice said, children of Ymir?
People of Earth! People of Earth, hear me! So, super advanced technological race. They've got bat ears.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so they can hear real good.
Yeah, they hear real good. So they come onto the ship and they're talking with Horus and his gang. And they're like, hey, why'd you come to this planet? Did you not see the warning signs we left everywhere?
Spiders. Turn back.
Knowing that this planet's quarantined, we left warnings everywhere. Did you not see them? And Horus is like, we didn't know what they meant. And they're like, we made it pretty fucking obvious, dude. And they literally were like, we thought no one would be fucking stupid enough to go here. Obviously, the Imperium is stupid enough to fucking go there. So with the help of the Interrex, they re-quarantined the planet, cut off. No one's allowed to go here. They left up warning signs again everywhere.
Do not follow the spiders.
Eventually, Horus and his entourage were like, wait a minute, you guys have the power to quarantine them. Why don't you just fucking get rid of of them? Why don't you just like exterminate them all? This Interrex like diplomat looks at them like shocked and says, what right do we have to make another species extinct?
Yes. Oh, I like them. Queen behavior.
And Horus and the other people are like,
oh
no. They're like just kind of yanking on their collars like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah, sure.
You're not gonna like us.
So Horus, props to him.
Yeah.
He did apologize. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Our bad. Abaddon fucking storms out of the room. And he's like, you shouldn't have apologized to them. And Horus is sitting there. And Loken is like, what do we do with him? And he's like, go tell him stop being a little bitch and to come back when he fucking like gets a hold of himself.
Yeah. He's acting like badly drawn Sasuke. He needs to.
It's true. It's true. Badly drawn Abaddon. While they were talking to this subspecies of human, the Interrex, they got onto all these like conversations like, oh, your tech's really cool. How does your tech work? And like, oh, are there other species of humans out there? And like diplomacy. We're talking, we're chilling. And eventually they start talking about like, well, what exactly is like, what are some other problems that you found in the galaxy? And they're like, oh, you know, chaos.
Oh, it's now. It's the reveal. Oh, shit. Oh, I didn't know we were doing this right now. Is this what the heresy is about?
Her brain is making connections.
Guys, you can't see my face right now.
She's pogging.
But it's making so many.
She's poggy.
I only recently found out what that means because I thought it was about the little circles of cardboard.
And so they're talking about how they met with a race called the Eldar. Her head shot up.
I know them.
Her head shot up like
I was writing a note.
They met with this race called the Eldar. The Eldar taught them all these things about chaos and how you have to be careful with chaos. And it's really important to understand how the warp works in the cosmos. And then they stop. He looks over at Horus and he goes, great and holy heavens, you don't know, do you? You don't know about chaos. You guys are fucking around in the warp and you're going all these places and you don't know what chaos is? How do you not know?
Right. Okay. This has been like thousands of years of suppressing the idea of religion.
And then M suddenly.
This is if in UNR's universe, somebody showed up and was like, what do you mean you guys don't think dragons are real? They're right there.
Yeah. And it's not just that. It is like literally, what is chaos? What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like not just there is magic or whatever.
And if Horus like called up Dad and was like, Dad, what's chaos? He'd be like, I don't know.
What is this?
I don't know.
This is awkward as fuck for the M's.
This is awkward for M's because he's like, ooh, we found out.
Ooh. The like this is drama.
We'll touch upon the Interrex and their fate at a later time.
Wait, no, I'm invested.
Well, essentially things didn't turn out super great for them. They basically, relations went sour.
Oh.
Horus got upset.
Wait.
Because the relations went sour.
No, I like these guys.
This may or may not be one of the things that kicks off the heresy. So we're going to save that for that episode.
Is this why there are no Zonai?
Yes.
Oh, damn.
We'll touch back on the Interrex.
We'll interact with this
later. I want to talk to you about Foe.
Oh, okay. The most based man alive.
Yes.
So you're saying he's faux real.
I want to read you an excerpt from a short story called Misbegotten.
Oh.
Which is from Sons of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Some background. There's this guy, this crazy scientist named Foe.
Yeah.
He was a crazy, wacky scientist, made all sorts of weird inventions and cyborgs and stuff. Super like body horror stuff.
Oh, okay.
Was exiled from Terra, left. Went somewhere else. But eventually, as the Great Crusade happened, they found these cyborgs and they were like, what the hell? These things can kill like a bunch of space marines. They're super strong. We gotta stop this guy. And so they go over and they're fighting Foe. And eventually, Horus and his gang find where he is, find a way into his base. Horus bursts in.
Oh.
Horus sees Foe and he's just kind of standing there.
Right.
Horus says, you were waiting for me. Foe shrugged. I knew you would come one day, and when you did, I would not win. I resolved to make my stand count for something. If not to defeat the enemy, then perhaps to eliminate the greatest of its party, its leader. You knew I would come, asked Horus. Foe nodded. You or something like you. One day, eventually. It's been a long time, but it was inevitable. Terra endures. You left there a long time ago. My art was not appreciated. I have seen it firsthand. That does not surprise me. Abominations, Foe. Abominations. Foe smiled and showed small and perfect teeth. I see tastes have not changed. Foe sat back. I have been monitoring your activity since you arrived in this zone 20 months ago, he said. Through my listening stations and watch networks, I have observed your dealings with local cultures, your message, your offer of embrace. I knew you would knock on my door before long. And you were prepared, said Horus. Afraid, for you thought we would judge you as poorly as the people of Terra once did. Foe frowned. No, you are mistaken, he replied. You think I left Terra because I was driven out, shunned, demonized. No. All artists and innovators are misunderstood. Then why? Because I saw the start of his rise, said Foe. Even then, early days, but I could still see what he would become. Your father, I mean. I knew what future awaited a man who dreamed the dreams he did. Though it took decades or centuries or longer, I knew he would not be denied. I wanted no part of that. I wanted to be as far away as possible. Why? Asked Horus. His dream is unthinkable, and yet he thinks he has the power to make it real. I see he has begun now. You have reached the stars. Yes, bearing his message, his hope to hope. Foe shook his head sadly. Yes, naturally he would tell his children that. He always made things sound so optimistic, a glorious and endless future, but of course you wouldn't understand. I don't, said Horus, rising. You are a maker of abominations, a creator of the most obscene things I have ever beheld. I presume a mind as transgressive as yours would see only horror in the splendor of his ambition, and fear the justice he would meet upon you for your crimes against the human form. Oh God, no! Cried Foe in surprise. He hesitated. Do they still speak of God on Terra? Do they still believe? I suppose not. They wouldn't have to now. Anyway, you're wrong. I don't fear his justice. You say I have made abominations. Look at what he's made. What do you mean? I mean you! You and the beings like you. You think I've made monsters in my wildest deliriums? I could not have designed monsters like you. I practice simple and ingenious arts of genetics and anatomy. I tinker and I edit to make puzzles and delights and curious wonders, things to make us think and ponder the nature of our being and our place in the scheme of life. He looked up at Horus. I do not make things that will burn the galaxy down. I do not make things that will doom our species and lead it into an endless frenzy of war. You are the most abominable thing I have ever seen. Grotesque, sickening, misbegotten. I could not hope to kill you all, but to abort just one before it reached potential, well, that would have been some solace. Foe got up and brushed down his clothes. I would like to die now, he said. I don't want to live in a cosmos where things like you are on the loose.
Damn!
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 Oh, fuck. He fucked him at the end.
Chad.
Holy shit.
He fucked him up.
Oh my God.
Yo.
Holy shit. Okay, that was a lot.
That was a lot. Hey, how do you feel?
A lot. Okay.
A lot.
Interesting. So Foe is human.
He was a human. He was a scientist. Made a bunch of weird stuff on Terra, like cyborg shit. And then eventually he left because Emps was there.
Does he have like a human lifespan?
If he did, he's probably expanded it through cybernetics and genetics. He's talking about how he edits things.
But he's like a mad scientist who has been exiled because he keeps mad scientisting. And some of his stuff isn't super morally
great. Yeah.
But at the same time, he has enough humanity that he is clearly different and more human than this group of people.
He is horrified by Space Marines.
Yes. Okay.
I could never create a Space
Marine. I've seen
Marine.
this before. Again, I keep having these moments where I'm like, I've seen this before. Which is not me saying that anyone is copying anyone. It's just that
it's a common
motif thing. My brain likes to relate things to other things.
What I really like about the Horus Heresy getting a lot of elaboration through, frankly, too many books, is that because we know where the story's going, we know where the ending is. We know that Emperor has to end on the chair and blah, 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 blah. We know we have to lead into 40k somehow. Because of that, we get to have a lot of really cool scenes and a lot of really cool characters who are essentially like doomsayers, who are like accurately predicting what is going to happen.
There's like a prophecy and it's not good.
It's not good. And it's like, it keeps happening.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, we heard this a couple of times, but it's like, we've heard this a couple times. And like thousands of years apart.
Yes.
With nobody like interacting.
But the Space Marines and Emps, they're so embedded in their beliefs that they would never change course. And you know what's really funny? Horus didn't kill Foe.
Yeah.
He brought him back to Terra, where he was imprisoned.
Oh.
All throughout the Great Crusade, and all throughout the Heresy.
Oh, that's worse.
And all the way through to the 41st millennium, where he smiled and he laughed, knowing that he was right.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the direct quote is that, like, he was not foolish enough to believe in hope.
Yeah.
And he, like, was happy about that.
Yeah. Even though he was potentially deranged.
Yeah, he was a bit nuts, a bit crazy.
His ethics was off.
Yeah.
But even that's fucked up.
Yeah. I sure do hope these morally questionable Space Marines don't turn evil or something. Woo!
Ooh, foreshadowing is a literary device.
Foreshadowing is a literary device.
Okay, well, that sucks for this guy. Like, he's just...
Oh, he's fine. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the Horus-focused episode. Obviously, this is not the last time we will be hearing about Horus. Obviously, there is a whole entire heresy to go through. But what did you think of Mr. Horus? Mr. Horus Heresy? How you feel about him as like a baseline, how he is?
I'm glad to see more representation in the magical girl genre.
Yeah.
Because people do get a little confused that it has to be a girl, and actually not really. It's just kind of where the name originated. But they are definitely magical boys.
True.
I don't know why. The gender got attached to the genre. I found it interesting.
Really?
And I'm trying to decipher how much of this was me learning more about the Primarch, like the whole system and how it's going to work for everybody else as we keep going through.
Right.
Or if it's like Horus specifically. Obviously, he's interesting because he's like the fave, and then obviously something happens.
Yeah, it's we know a tragedy is upcoming.
Yeah.
The favored son will become the greatest betrayer.
Yeah. I feel like coming from the murder planet might have messed him up a little bit.
The war on murder, as it is called. The reign of spiders.
He may have been different had that not been where he grew up.
No, wrong planet. Chthoniya was where he grew up. You said murder.
Murder planet? They have to murder to get a name?
I see where the disconnect happened. The planet the spiders are from is called Murder.
Oh.
So this is why that was confusing.
Why would you name a planet
Chthoniya.
that?
I don't know. Anyway, Chthoniya.
Starting there.
Yeah, not great.
I could see how you would really, with your objectives and kind of lose some empathy and, you know, I can see how that happened.
He grew up wanting to kill someone.
Yeah, it's not great.
Like, that's not a good motivation to have as you grow up.
Like, I don't like him, and I have a feeling I won't like most of these guys in the sense of, I would not hang out with them.
They are morally questionable.
Yeah. I would not go for a beer. With these, I would have trouble not bringing up certain issues and asking them to change.
Here's the thing, though. This is what I think makes Horus so interesting is that, like, he would be a good friend to you. He would chill out and he would be like, yeah, let's go for a beer. Let's chill out. Let's have fun.
Yeah. Personality-wise, he seems like an okay dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
But what I think is so interesting is that some of the stories kind of go into like, but deep inside, that darkness is there.
That hegemonic masculinity.
It's in there. And it's ready to burst out.
Yeah.
At a moment's notice. Well, it's like some of the other legions, when it came to Foe, talking to Foe.
Yeah.
Bam, done. Who cares? He wouldn't have even talked to him. But like, he sat down with him. And like, had a discussion.
It's empty. It's empty. It's the last church all over again. Let's talk about it.
He is, that is like his dad, huh?
It's like a reflection. It's the same story.
That is very much like his dad. It is just, oh, wow. Yeah, I never even made that connection.
It was there the whole time.
It was there the whole time. They were always there.
Every time two characters sit down and have a conversation about a difference of faith, we're going to be like,
it was there the whole time. Dude.
Foreshadowing.
No, it is the exact same thing. But I guess the context is different of like, Uriah in the last church was like, that's bad, don't do this. And Foe, it's different of like, it's already happened. What do you do now?
Well, I mean, there's a large difference in the time between those two, right?
Yeah, incredibly large difference in the time.
Emps is like actually taken over by the time this guy.
Yeah, they're like working their way through the planets.
Yeah.
Just like one by one, just like boop, boop, boop.
There is a chance in Jiraiya's head, however small, that he could convince otherwise. This guy, he knows it's not a thing.
Yeah, and that's why I think he's so fucking cool. He stands up. I would like to die now. I don't want to live in a world where you guys are running around.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of messed up, not gonna lie.
Fair.
Fair enough.
I mean, if you know what's coming, asking for a clean death isn't the most unimaginable thing.
I think also the last church comparison is really interesting because it's a flip. Because where Emps and Uriah were debating about religion, Uriah was a religious man, and he was a man of faith, not a man of science. Foe is a man of science. But both of them have the exact same view of like, this is fucked, this is terrible, you're a bad person.
You could argue that the similarity when people kind of use science and faith or say that science is a faith.
Faith doesn't always necessarily mean religion. Like your faith could be like in justice. It could be in like kindness.
It is a conversation with two men about their life's belief or like their life's passion or the thing that they have lived for.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because it's the exact flip because Foe's the man of science and Horus is the one who is like blind faith. He has nothing but faith in his father. We will spread our light throughout the galaxy. And he's like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
I don't care.
He believes himself to almost be divine.
I mean, he practically is.
Yeah.
But yes, I've described Horus and the other Primarchs as demigods walking around because that's pretty much what they are.
Yeah. They're like Hercules.
Yeah. How do you feel about Horus's legion? Like his Mournival and like his Luna Wolves, his Sons of Horus, anything that like particularly like stood out?
They need therapy.
But they're so addicted to crack. They need that yummy, yummy crack. They need it.
Lessening that would also probably help.
No, I need it.
Okay.
Now, I was exaggerating a bit. Most Space Marines, like drugs don't do anything to them. It's not like part of their system.
It would be very difficult for them to get drunk.
Space Wolves can. They craft their own special Space Marine beer. Like if a human drank it, they would die. They would melt.
Like elves.
Yeah, it's very difficult. How do you feel about the Legion? Any quirks you like? Any colors you like? How do you feel about the Mournival?
Funny name.
It is a funny name.
Again, why is he just on like name generator?
I need my council. I will name them the Mournival.
He's letting chat decide on everything he names. That's what it is.
Horus is like, chat.
What do you guys think?
Dude, he's talking to the bat people and they're like, yeah, chaos. And he very clearly he's like, 1 second, chat, is this real?
Chat. Do you guys see
chat,
this?
is this real?
Chat, look at this idiot. Look at his ears.
What if the Mournival was called Chat?
Yes!
Chat, is this real?
Chat, do you see this? Chat, what should we do?
Chat, do you see this? Dude, who would leave up all these like flashing lights around this planet? That's so stupid. Just break through them, whatever. Oh no.
Chat, there's spiders
Rain
on the
of
planet.
spiders.
Chat.
Call Dad, it's bad. Call Dad. Dad, the spiders.
Hagrid was wrong.
Dad, no. Hagrid was wrong. There's so many spiders.
Cut to fucking Jenny with her Aragog plushie. Like,
oh, I love that thing. I love that thing. Any particular characters from his Legion really jump out at you? Abaddon, Loken, Torgadon, Little Horus?
Again, immediately therapy. Get the vision. If I suddenly was given these guys in my, I would be like, okay, we're going to go to a doctor and we're going to get a good lunch and we're going to go talk to a really nice lady.
I do not like nice ladies.
Okay, well, no, I mean, they seem interesting as characters.
They seem interesting. And like I said, this is like to get the broad strokes, the baseline when it comes to.
How do you pronounce? Torgadon.
Torgadon.
Okay, I looked down and saw a tendon, so.
No. This serves as a like baseline, so when I say later on in another episode, so-and-so was talking to Horus, you'll be like, I know who Horus is.
I do.
I know who Abaddon is. I know who this guy and that guy is. And if you don't, I can be like, it was this guy from Horus's guys. And you'll be like, I know that.
This is why I need to like build myself a little cheat sheet. I can share it with the patrons. Guys, you want to see my cheat sheet?
The cheat sheet.
I will update it live for the patrons at all times. And I'll add to it like as we do stuff. Okay, that's a fun little project. But that will help me because I have trouble with like names and stuff.
There is a lot of terminology. There's a lot of names. And there's a lot of like, well, Primarchs and Space Marines are kind of made from the same thing, but the way they make them isn't the same. And Emperor is completely separated from that and blah, blah. Yeah, it's very expensive.
It's very detailed. Yeah.
Very detailed. Yeah, I think a cheat sheet would be really helpful.
Yeah.
I made a tweet a long time ago that was just like, there's so much 40k.
Yeah.
And that's true.
But that's good.
There's
That's
so
why we're
much.
breaking it down into little sections. Because
Exactly. We have to make the broad strokes
like,
before we get into the details.
what we have just gone over. We know this through like how many books or like games or what.
Oh, goodness.
This part. I know the Horus Heresy. I've seen the Horus Heresy. So I know.
When we eventually like get to the Horus Heresy, this is also like breaking all the Primarchs and stuff down like this. To get to when we get to the Heresy, I can say like, Lehman Russ and Lionel Johnson did this. And you'll be like, I know who those two are.
I'll be like, checks notes. Right, I know who those two are.
Horus punched Gilliman, and you'll be like, oh my God, the drama, because you'll now have a connection to those characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
The Heresy is really dramatic, and it's really fun.
It feels like Real Housewives.
It is. It's true.
And I am ready for that. Because I watched, and I remember sitting there with Alex at one point, and there was some stuff going down. I believe it was a woman yelling, why would I apologize to you and your ugly leather pants?
Whoa!
And I thought to myself, I know which Primarch that would be. And that was when I knew we had something in the way that our brains work.
Getting a lot of betrayal vibes from your broski.
That was when I was like, I think we should make content.
We should make content of this.
The real Primarchs of Terra.
Any other questions when it comes to Mr. Horus or anything around him?
What is this Eye of Horus thing?
It's just like his logo.
He just decided one day, now with the wolves.
He was like, the wolf aesthetic, I'm so bored of it.
It's over.
But I kind of like the wolf aesthetic though, but Dad wants me to change the wolf aesthetic. It's because...
he used the Fantasia.
Do you feel like the Emperor of Mankind was looking at the Space Wolves and the Luna Wolves and he's like,
this is confusing. Horus, baby, my baby boy, you need to change the name. You need to... Daddy's getting confused. You need to change the name.
He's like me. He needs a little grave.
Oh my God. Ems has a graph in his office and he's like,
Horus, which one is that?
Oh no!
Which one's Magnus? Which number is that?
Malcador is like, it's this one, my Emperor. And he's like,
is that the red one?
Every Christmas, they all get the wrong present.
he's sitting with Horus and he's just like,
I really love you, Simon.
Horus gets like a really cool present.
Oh, Horus gets all the good shit.
And everybody else is sitting there with like an orange and a zip tie. And one of them's like, have you ever had a tangerine though?
Emperor sitting with Lehman Russ. He's like,
I really appreciate your strength, Magnus.
That's like when Raquel said, I love you too.
They love you. I love you too. That's not what I said.
I can't. That was the worst moment on TV ever. Malcador is just like in the back, like trying to cook dinner. Really wants everyone to have a nice time.
Oh, I can finally talk about this and like have it be in context. Interesting fact. At one point, Malcador is talking to one of the Primarchs. And this Primarch, I think it's Rogaldorn. I can't remember at the top of my head.
Man, that was chat's
great name.
Greatest.
Great name.
Rogaldorn.
He's talking to Rogal, and Rogal's like really like airing his grievances, and he's like, oh, I hate this, my brother, and oh my God, he's such a bitch, and I hate him. Oh my God, I'm so angry at my brother. Mm-hmm. And Malcador is just standing there, and he's like, you know, while he was making you, I told your dad that it would be a good idea to make you all sisters and not brothers. You'd be far more civilized. But no, he didn't listen to me. No.
What is that supposed to mean?
Malcador was like slipping Emps like, you should make them all women, make them sisters. And Emps was like, no.
He could just do that?
Oh, if he wanted to. Absolutely.
So you're telling me you can just take a Space Marine and turn it into a girl?
Well, the Emperor could. He could have made the Primarchs women.
So it's possible, canonically. Interesting.
There's a lot of theories as to why he didn't.
But it's not because he couldn't.
I don't think it had anything to do with gender specifically. I think it was because, I mean, there are now women in the Custodies.
I understand why men would be a preferable choice for a giant fucking hulking space warrior. But the fact that there is not one exception...
It's a little surprising.
That is kind of funny that he just says that.
Yeah, he's like, I told him to make you all sisters, but no. He didn't want to.
Obviously, that is problematic to just be like, if you guys were women, you wouldn't like be so aggressive.
Oh, you women.
Like, okay, sure.
Malcador's like 8,000 bajillion years old. He's an ultra boomer.
He's a product of his time, and we don't even know when that was. That's like the Doctor.
Peepaw's too old. He doesn't know what he's saying.
Transference.
Oh.
Jim. I remember Jim. Oh.
Let's get you to bed, Peepaw. Let's go.
Oh, no, he's making dinner still. I heard he's mad at each other.
Peepaw too old. No, Peepaw, no.
Oh, no, but he makes the best mashed potatoes you've ever goddamn had in your life.
Yeah, but he burns the sausages for breakfast.
So does somebody else make the sausages?
Well, I want to,
it's
but
not
like,
about what somebody does badly. It's about what somebody does well.
Let's kill Peepaw.
No! You touched the Peepaw!
What are some other forms of media outside of Warhammer that you think people should check out? Dresden Files #1.
We're the weebs.
Check out some cool anime.
Yeah, that's what got us here in the first place.
Mostly I would just say check out some books. There's a lot of really good Warhammer books. I mentioned Dresden Files just a second ago. Gotrek and Felix, if you want to get into Warhammer Fantasy.
We both play Final Fantasy.
Yeah, check out Final Fantasy. Any of them, really.
There's
I
like
think.
this cool free trial.
Yeah, it goes up to Stormblood now.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hear there's some award-winning.
Yeah, there's some award-winning stuff in there.
Wow.
If you could be any role on a pirate ship, what would you be and why? I want to be the navigator so I can scream all day.
I could be a cook because then I can stay where it's not cold, and
Oh,
I'm
true.
a pretty good cook.
True. Nobody asks you of anything other than cooking.
I can cook.
Yeah, that's it.
I like cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure the crew don't get scurvy.
I can do that.
Yeah.
You all want limes?
Y'all want oranges?
I got gin and tonic. I got this dealt with. Have you ever had a tangerine?
So far, what are your favorite factions?
What's a faction?
You know what a faction
Well, I just like is a demo a faction? We didn't even say demo in the ad read. Demo, guys.
I would say anything Chaos is my favorite. I just like Chaos's whole vibe.
Is that a faction?
Demons. I like demons.
Oh.
I'm assuming this is what we've already gone over.
Oh, okay.
So, what would you say your favorite thing so far has been?
I like the Custody. Them and
The
Flayed ones.
That's not a faction, but yes, Necron.
Well, then I don't know what a faction is.
No, come back!
There are many hive fleets, each but a facet of the immeasurable Tyranid threat. Even now, one is surging towards the Eye of Terror.